this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 core elements that every generic software misses and why they're selling you a dream, and we are guiding you on what you should pay attention and how to actually think about a system that can actually scale and help you double the value of your business, save 20 plus hours per week, help you delegate like a pro to make sure that your team can grow and you can deliver the best service for your customers and not be overwhelmed, and much more. So stay with me for this video. We're gonna go really deep. I'm gonna have a support for you to follow along, and yeah, let's jump right into it. Have you ever bought like a software and when you implement it, it doesn't really feel that it helps you in the end, and then you force your team to learn the software and it took a few weeks or a few months, and then you're like kind of disappointed? Well, that is not an isolated situation. It's actually something that happens a lot in the industry, and as owners, we always want that perfect solution that just fits our operations like a glove, from the lead to the cash. We all have our particularities when it comes to delivering our product or service to our customers. And so the natural solution would be, okay, let's build the custom systems, but usually they're really expensive. Well, it's not the case anymore, but natural path, as most of the like people who would try to find a system to help them delegate, save time, like work faster, have less mistakes, have a one source of truth, is to buy something off the shelf, and then they'll go on a huge procurement exercise, try to find something that fits them perfectly. Which never actually happens, because generic systems, they can't fit you perfectly by default. So you just try to find the one that will fit at, like, let's say 70% or 80%, and optimally at 90%. But anyway, they still miss a lot of the points, and I think there are things, even if they fit like 80% of your like actual tasks, I want to like just open your eyes on some principles that I've learned working for over 10 years with the best architects of operational excellence and business scalability. Like the people who really succeed the most, they don't buy generic software. They do something completely different. And I want to share you like the first principles that are important to know how to approach the scalability of your business. It doesn't matter if you want like to sell your business, work less hours, or grow 10x from where you are right now. Those things are universal. It gives you a choice. So I created a document about why those generic systems fail, and I'm specifically speaking about management software and ERPs and all those tools that you will take to help you manage your resources, manage your project, manage the inventory, doing your quoting, doing your receiving, doing your fulfillment, or like project management, all those things. So most of the problems from generic software come from the fact that they are built from inside out, not from the customer backwards. That single flaw cascades into 5 critical failures. So I think the most important first principle that is never respected with generic software is that those software will never obsess about your ICP, your avatar. And what I mean by that is that when you deliver a service to your customer is often very different from a customer in another geography or on another like pricing point. Like every business has their unique value proposition and expectation management. And remember, there is that iron triangle that helps us calibrate expectations with the customer. And that iron triangle, what it is, it's cost, speed, and quality. And apparently, like usually, you can only excel in 2 at a time, not 3 at the same time. It's just, physics, how to say those things. And when you buy a generic software, you don't have any control on the actual expectation management and flexibility in terms of, how do you work from customer expectations backwards into your system. You'll buy something that will do one thing in the other, and then it doesn't really, work perfectly. So generic ERP and CRM systems are designed for from accounting forward, not from customer promise backwards. This is a fatal flaw that cascades into everything else. The backward building problem. They work backwards from customer. Okay. So the core first principle violations. Other softwares are built around internal transaction, not customer promises. They optimize for recording what's happening, not delivering what matters. And then design from the CFO desk, not the customer experience. So my first big problem with generic ERP systems and management software is their rigidity. They'll provide you a software with 50,000 buttons and you have to learn them. It's 50,000 buttons for everyone, and then they build it for a generic customer, not your customer. And I mean, people who win in business, they know like their pocket, who is their avatar. And if you can't translate that to operational excellence and operational execution, you're missing the point. It's good that you do it maybe on the marketing side, but then comes the time for delivery and they're like, ooh, you have your hands tied. So this problem of 50,000 buttons is not anchored on your customer outcomes. So your customer cares about delivery dates. Their system cares about SKU management. Your customer wants progress update. Their system wants transaction logs. Their system, I say like the system from other companies, other software providers, and other ERPs. Therefore, your team can't speak the customer language because the system forces an internal jargon. Customer questions require translation. Every interaction becomes, let me check the system. Therefore, your team resists. They know what customer actually need. The system doesn't help deliver it. And they fear that if they fail to deliver the customer expectation with the new system, they'll won't be executing very well. So usually, those rigid systems, like one of the biggest pain points with them is, I didn't write it in here, but it's like the change management. It will take you time for your team to learn this software. It depends on like the solution that you take, but the training usually with those tech companies will be quite expensive. It will require enterprise solution, so you'll pay like thousands per month. And if you want to like dedicated support, usually you'll need to work with consultants. So you can imagine how that is. And if you don't do that, well, it's going to be your time as an owner or the director of operations to first learn the software on top of everything you already have to do, and then try to propagate that software to the rest of your team. So I mean, we know that you are already like drowned in a lot of work. Good luck. So branch 2, the speed illusion. So this is a key point that I think the whole industry is quite dishonest around that point. So there's the key concept about lead time and cycle time, and I want to show you like the difference about lead time and cycle time. I think I have a graphic here. Yeah, it's that thing. So a request from customer and the delivery of value, that is a lead time, and you can have multiple sub lead times between one step of your value chain being done and the next and it being finished, etc., etc. So a lead time is the moment you have the work dropping in your pipeline until it's delivered. The cycle time is the time that actually takes you to do the work. So from the moment your team starts to work until it's done. But you can see lead time minus cycle time is idle time. And so a lot of companies and a lot of like software providers and all those salespeople, they'll just say how they help you optimize your cycle time from, let's say, 5 minutes to 1 minute. Oh, fantastic, great. But you know where most of time is lost? It's not in the cycle time. It's in the idle time or the handoff. Or imagine you have, 1,000 of those lead times to orchestrate through. How do you manage your capacity, your backlog, your prioritization? I didn't see any system that actually supports this this thing. Like none. I did my research. It's very hard to find something that will help you in that. And this is where you think you're gonna go faster. Oh, fantastic! You saved 80% in your cycle time. But guess what? Your most of your time wasn't there. It was in a waiting before someone actually took that work and executed. So you know when you promise your customer that something will be installed in 7 days, generic system will help you maybe do estimating a little bit faster, save some 12 minutes here, save some 6 minutes there, save an hour there in the execution. But what your customer experiences is like still those waiting times of 2 days before approval, 3 days before your material is being ordered, 2 days before the coordination happens, and the whole, therefore your customer sees no improvement. You go faster internally, but there's still that wait and still amount the same rhythm. You don't change the actual rhythm of your business. So often your promises are not kept, and you wonder, like, listen, we invested that much money into an ERP. Why you can't go faster? Why are lead times are not improving? Well, the reason is, that the whole orchestration of task is way more important than the task itself. So that's another thing. Like those systems, they don't actually help you delegate. And the delegation around the customer promise also. So if you promise a delivery date the March 15th, for example, and you promise that there will be no defects and that your communication will be excellent, usually the system will tell you who entered the order, who approved the quote, who processed the payment, but the system doesn't say to you, are you actually gonna hit your March 15 timeline? It's not gonna say to you who's actually monitoring the quality of the checkpoints, and did the customer actually get their 3-day update? Like they'll tell you that you need to do a specific task, or create a quote, or do that thing, but it's still like it feels like disconnected by a lot. So you're still managing customer expectation, but the system doesn't usually track what was promised. The system doesn't alert when promises is at risk. The system doesn't coordinate delivery of promises. So, and that's another thing. It's like, when you can't really delegate effectively to the right people, and you can't really manage the capacity or even the SOPs of how to do certain things, it becomes really hard to scale. And one of the most important things in the business is to unlock scalability, and scalability comes from systems, not working harder. So you can't extract yourself because the system doesn't hold customer promise, so you do. Then there's constant gaps, essentially. So your customer journey is like, it's this way, but other ERP systems, well, they'll help you create the quote, they'll help you place the orders, your POs, they'll help you send the invoices, but very rarely they'll help you track progress, visibility, or quality checkpoints. So what happens usually if you have some processes or some things within your way of calculating things or managing your business that live outside of this system? Naturally people will create Google Sheets or systems outside of your system, and that's problematic because when that happens, you create the chain is broken, so there's no link in your value chain. You have people typing in one system, then exporting that data into a Google Sheet, doing the things in Google Sheet, then importing back into the software. When this thing happens, that's a very critical point. When this thing happens, when people need to download the data from your software to do something else elsewhere that is critical for your customer, you actually, once again, lose a lot of time that we said in terms of the speed of illusion, like the orchestration, the lead times, because before someone does that operation and then sends the work back to the software, nothing will happen. So you'll continue to build those Google Sheets that actually create a huge bottleneck in your value chain, and that becomes a problem. And then you'll have a lot of blind spots in terms of um, yeah, in the blind spot in the sense of your back office tool. It's a back office tool, and it won't really communicate to your customer what is the real situation within your operation. So you can't manage expectations back and forth. So one of the best tools that you can provide to a customer is like self-service about their order and what happens with their with the purchase they made with your business. But if you can't surface some of this information from your back office to the front, you create a lot of blind spots that create a lot of cost later on. So the customer will ask, when will my project be done, and you must check a lot of different systems and Google Sheets and then call them back and give them the answer. So your customer care costs are really high, and if you can't self-serve even internally to answer those questions, it becomes a big problem. So, and then like we see the amount of businesses who have the phone ringing nonstop and they have full-time employees just answering those questions, means that your whole value chain is kind of broken. So you're trapped as the interface between broken internal system and the actual customer promise. So the solution, it's the first principle. You just have to take your customer promise that define who's your real ICP, and then work backwards and be focused on outcomes of every stage of your value chain. We have some other videos that describe that principle, so you can go and check it out. So instead of taking generic software who works from accounting to operation to management to the customer, you work backwards. So you start with the end of your delivery, let's say the moment you collect the cash, and you're like, okay, what needs to happen for my customer to be extra happy? And then you work backwards. So you say, okay, this will need to be the process, and then the input, and then this stage is finished. Okay, the previous stage needed to have those output perfectly done, and you work backwards and back. So instead of like going from back forward. Anyway, I hope I'm clear on that aspect. So this is why we built the Trios protocol. It's our way at Anchor Point to deliver those custom systems that actually fit your operations like a glove, that create your operation, that transform your operation into a growth engine. Because remember, the competition now isn't happening on the client acquisition, it happens on the lifetime value. So if people purchase with you more than once, and if they become a promoter, so if they talk positively about your business, so we build the technology around your customer outcomes. We build specific reporting so you can have the visibility about what are those expectations. Are you early? Are you ready to be executing? Are you on time or are you late? You have the input-output control of the whole customer journey and that orchestration and that link. You have the full orchestration between every activity that you have within your business and who has to do what at what time. And that systematization that helps you scale not only internally in your back office, but also with your partners or with your customers. So that's the transformation that we bring from that generic approach to that operating system approach, and we do that in 90 days. That was a long presentation. See you in the next one. And if you want to talk about it with us and learn more about what we propose, just book a meeting. The link is going to be in the description. Take care. Bye.